breathe. Just breathe. Well, ladies and dudes, it is time once again for another movie review that featured an adaptation storyline that was truly based by something. And yes, for this adaptation, it is truly based by the legendary fairy tale story of all time called Cinderella, but it featured in a twist. And this main twist of the storyline is there's no fairy godmother to be found. Nope, not this really cool lady who could use a magic wand in the palm of her hand to turn everything that Cinderella needs to go to the ball, like when the pumpkin had transformed into a carriage, or the cute little micey-wiceys had turned themselves into horses, or the part where Cinderella's gonna finally get a gown with glass slippers in it. So Sally, there's no fairy godmother to be found. So they decide to add a real life dude who is based by a real life person to be a part of this adaptation of Cinderella. Tell you the truth is, about this elderly dude, he's more like a grandfatherly like type of a character for Cinderella instead of a fairy godmother. Well, I'll tell you that in a moment. What else I could say? Well, anyway, hi ladies and dudes, this is Rebecca Lynn Barkley, aka Boobot 1987. This is my review for today. And today I do have a movie review, ladies and dudes. And I will admit, this is one of the best adaptations of a Cinderella storyline that we're ever gonna get for so many years. And I'm sure this adaptation of Cinderella is a whole lot better than those other versions of Cinderella that we got later on. If you watch those teenager stories about Cinderella, you know, and taking place in the modern day adaptation of it, I'm sure you want to throw those away. And also, I'm sure you love the original Cinderella that came from the 1950s. And I'm sure all of you got mixed bags of Cinderella that came from 2015. I will say it was alright for the most part. Though I'm sure everybody loves this adaptation of Cinderella the best. So for my next movie review is Ever After, a Cinderella story that featured Drew Barrymore, Douglas Scott, and Angelica Houston. I hope I got her name right. The legendary actress who did play the wicked stepmother in the film. Yes, I will admit, this is one of the best adaptations of Cinderella that us the fans will ever going to get. And I am familiar with this film. I did see this movie at the age of 13 on HBO, and I did remember the time I did have HBO back from many, many years ago. That's for sure. So without further ado, ladies and dudes, let's head on to my next movie review of Ever After, a Cinderella story. Well, we already know what the storyline goes. It's a story about a young woman named Danielle who's been a servant for the last 10 frickin' years after when she lost her daddy. You know, her beloved father who wants to get remarried and have a new wife, and also taking care of his new stepdaughters, but he never had a time to do so since he died from a heart attack for no reason, and all he ever cared about is his beloved daughter named Danielle. And yeah, the stepmother really hates Danielle for some unknown reason because of her beauty and the love for her father. And Sally, that no good stepmother, had turned her into a servant, and she has to do some chores here and there at the house and doing a lot of, doing service stuff here and there. But not until Danielle's life had changed forever and she's going to fall in love with a prince. A prince who's still a little boy for some unknown reason, and he's not fully grown as a man. And this is how her storyline will begin, try to get to know the prince and get to know what the life that she is missing from all this time while she's still a servant for that no good stepmother. Well, it's hard for me to explain about this main plot of the storyline, but that's all I could say about that part. And I guess everybody wants to know is, what the heck do I think about this movie? Well, to tell you the truth is, ladies and dudes, I really do enjoy this movie. I did see this movie on Saturday, and I'm doing my best to study this film very carefully and get to know the reason why everybody loves this film. Because it's realistic, and they want to add some changes here and there to the original story. They kept some of it as the same and some of it for some changes here and there. And yes, it took place in Paris, France. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I did enjoy this movie from start to finish. It had a well done storyline from start to finish. It has good, likable, enjoyable characters. It has some fantastic moments that really did blow me away. For all the scenes I did see for the first, second, and third part of the film, it had a really nice score, has good dialogue, it has very well done casting, and all the above. So overall, okay, strike that, reverse it. Let's head on to the strongest points and the weakest points of Ever After, the Cinderella story. Finally, for my weakest point in the movie, it's 0. I have no weak points at all for this movie. Zip, nada, not a darn thing. Hallelujah to that. And I will say for my strongest point for this movie is it has to go to all those moments. There are so many moments to be found in this movie that blew me away from start to finish. And I love every single moment that ever happened in this movie. From good to bad, to the funny, to the heartbreaking, and some moments that feature triumph. I mean, there's a lot of great moments to be found in this movie that is way too hard for me to explain. I mean, there's a lot of great moments to be found. Hard for me to say. What else I could say about this film that's really hard for me to explain about this movie? I did remember an interesting fun fact about Ever After is, does anybody know this dude named Douglas Scott who played Prince Henry? To tell you the truth is, he was about to be Wolverine for the new X-Men movie, but he's not going to be there to play Wolverine, so he decided to play the villain for Mission Impossible 2. If anybody remember the Mission Impossible 2 film, where he did play a villain in that movie. I will say he did not a too bad job on that, since I know Mission Impossible 2 just a little bit. And yeah, another interesting fun fact about this movie is that Drew Barrymore really, really wants Angelica Houston to play the wicked stepmother, and since they did prove it on the Drew Barrymore show, since she is dying for her to play a really good wicked stepmother, and she really did nail the character well. Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing about Douglas Scott that all of you need to notice about right away. Well, I know this is going to be a shocking thing to you all, but later on, he's going to play Stuart St. John for Taken 3. Since I don't mind the replacement at all, since I have no idea what happened to the original actor who did Taken 1. But he was going to be there for Taken 3, and I don't mind that replacement at all. Not one single bit. So that's a good, interesting, fun fact to be found about Douglas Scott. Since I only know a little bit about the actor, I also know he did play a fairy called Fairies, some animated movie that I did found from years ago. Some type of thing. Alright, ladies and dudes, and since I found a few interesting fun facts about Ever After, so let's go on to the characters. I will go with the two characters that stand out to me, the two best characters I really do care about in this film. I will say for the other characters, I do like Drew Barrymore as Danielle. She did a good job of her adaptation, Cinderella. I do like Douglas Scott as Henry, as a guy who's trying to look for love. You know, someone else that he could have a relationship with. And yeah, Angelica Houston did a good job playing the wicked stepmother, but I don't think she steals the show for me. I will say maybe decently at best, I guess. But I will just stay with the two characters that stand out to me. Just the two best characters I freaking love in this movie. And they're supporting character-wise. Okay, I hope I can get this character's name right. Is Jacqueline, played by this actress that I really don't know of. I really love Jacqueline. If there's any character out there who did steal the show for me in this film, it has to be her. I frickin' love this character so darn much. She is a very, very fun character to watch. And she's the only stepsister that Danielle can trust, since she's a very sweet, politeful young lady who has such good manners, and she's not arrogant or cruel or anything like her elderly stepsister named Marguerite. I just love this character to death. She had a really good storyline, great personality, great attitude. She has some good funny moments here and there in the movie. She just blew me away from start to finish. I just love this character so darn much. She is so much fun to watch. That's all I could say about her is Jacqueline. So I hope I got her name right. And the other character I want to talk about is Leonardo da Vinci, played by this actor I really don't know of. And surprisingly, ladies and dudes, this is the fairy godmother of the story. But to tell you the truth is, he's more like a grandfather-like type of the story. He's more like a grandfather to both Danielle and Henry, since he's responsible for finding a way to get these two people together as a couple. And I really do like this version of Leonardo da Vinci. He's a really cool character to watch. Since it is weird they feature a real life dude in a fictional story. Yeah, that's for sure. I will say he had a pretty good storyline. He has a great personality, great attitude. I was thinking he's more like a grandfatherly like type for both Danielle and Henry, since he cared about them both in so many ways, and he did a good job of giving Henry some advices about love and relationship, and try to be with somebody that he needs to love for the rest of his life, and also helping Danielle to find a way to be guided, I guess. It's hard for me to explain about this character, but anyway, he's a great character overall. And all I could say about my main final thoughts of Ever After, it's a pretty darn good movie to watch, with a great storyline, great characters, great moments to be found, and it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it has good costume designs, great score, and all the above. So I give this film a perfect high rating score of 10 out of 10. Please check out this movie to believe it, and I gotta go. I gotta do some important things here and there in life, and I'll be back for more videos to come in the main future. I promise to you all for that. So I'll see you all later, and sayonara.